Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. I am Jessica Rafuse, and welcome to the Ability Summit. It's really here. We're so glad you can join us. And here at the pre-show, we know you'll continue to roll in, and we're going to have a great conversation while you do that. I'm Jessica Rafuse, and at Microsoft, I'm responsible for our strategic partnerships within our accessibility team. And that's all of you. So it's great to be here with you. I'm a white woman with blonde hair, and I'm wearing a black Microsoft t-shirt, and I have a laced jacket over it. And behind me, there are some Ability Awards, which are glass globes that are various colors. So what is this pre-show all about? Why have you joined us early? Well, we're so glad you're here. Grab your cup of coffee, grab some tea, grab a water bottle, whatever you need, get cozy, get comfy. We are behind the scenes here at the Ability Summit. I'm going to bring on some of my friends. We're going to talk about upcoming sessions. We're going to talk about trends and disability inclusion. And we're really going to hear from the experts. You can join in the conversation too. We want to hear from you. So feel free to chime in within the platform chat. Head over to Twitter, #AbilitySummit. Tell us where you're watching the Ability Summit, what you're looking forward to over the next couple of days. What are you wearing when you're at your Ability Summit at home? What did you have for breakfast? We want to know. Let's meet the crew. It is my pleasure to introduce you to three of my good friends who are going to be here with me during the pre-show. First up, Lizzie Kiama. She is joining us live from Kenya, where I hear she's only a few minutes away from a warm and sunny beach. So Lizzie, we are all jealous. She is the founder and managing trustee of This Ability, which is a social enterprise that focuses on advancing disability rights within Kenya. Lizzie and This Ability apply business strategy to empower women and girls with disabilities. I'm particularly excited about hearing about Lizzie's work within digital skilling for disabled women. Really good stuff that you all are going to hear about this week. Now, the last time I saw Lizzie, we were cruising the streets of Paris together. So the world is a little different 2 years later, but I know one day soon Lizzie and I will be roaming the globe again. But until then, Lizzie, welcome. Do you mind sharing a visual description?
Sure. Thank you, Jessica. I am extremely pleased to join you this evening from sunny Mombasa. I am an African woman. I have short black hair. I am wearing spectacles. I have on a black tunic with gold embroidery and wearing bright red lipstick. I am in a coffee house at the moment because power went out in my house. So extremely fun times. I'm really grateful to join you this evening. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, Lizzie, for being here. And can I just say, this is the power of disability. How flexible are we that you can hop over to a coffee shop when the power goes out? Disability is a strength. Thank you, Lizzie, for being here. Next up is the man that needs no introduction if you are into cool tech. Stephen Scott, welcome. With over 20 years of broadcasting experience, Stephen is the host of Double Tap Canada, Double Tap TV, where for me, what I really admire about Stephen is how he makes accessible technology so approachable to everyone. Whether you're savvy or just having an introduction to tech, Stephen will help you understand it. So coming to us direct and live from Glasgow, Scotland. Welcome, Stephen.
Hi, Jessica, and thank you for welcoming me here to the Ability Summit. My first, I'm so excited. I am a white Scottish male. I am wearing my trademark sunglasses that seem to have become my trademark. I have short brown hair, and I'm wearing, I think, a grey t-shirt, but as I'm blind, I always have to rely on technology to tell me the truth. So you can confirm that with me, Jessica. And behind me, incidentally, for those who watch Double Tap TV regularly, they might recognize the set, in inverted commas, but actually it is in fact my home office.
Work from home. I love that, Stephen. This is what disabled folks have been asking for years, and you do it so well. And yes, it looks to me, Hector and Lizzie, you can confirm, but I believe that is a gray shirt. Nice work. Now that we're in the UK, let's head about 500 miles south of Glasgow, just outside of Oxford. My dear friend and colleague, Hector Minto, came to Microsoft with over 25 years of accessibility experience. Hector brought with him deep connections in the disability community. He knows our people and a passion for accessible technology. Hector has been so critical to our own accessibility journey at Microsoft, but I think equally as important, he's really committed to scaling accessibility by assisting our customers, our partners, those folks outside of Microsoft, and how they can start and continue on their own journey of accessibility and inclusion. So welcome, Hector.
Hey everyone, thanks Jessica. So I'm a white British male. I'm wearing my new thicker rimmed darker glasses. I'm wearing a 2017 edition Ability Summit t-shirt with the word ability. May the 4th be with you, from a few years back. Behind me I have various bits of artwork, but maybe my pride and joy, given my career in assistive technology, I have my Simpsons character of Professor Stephen Hawking, which I almost grabbed off his desk many years ago. Delighted to be with you. I'm a white British male with a graying beard, and I've got a large headset on.
Thank you, Hector, for being here. Thanks, everyone. In fact, let's dig into the content. Let's talk about what to expect here at Ability Summit. We've got 2 days of content, 16 breakout sessions, 95 speakers. This is a long cry from where we started out 11 years ago when we had just a few folks from the ERG come together with some pizza, lots of coffee to talk about disability and inclusion. So here at the Ability Summit, a whole lot of content this year. Let me ask, what are you all excited about? Lizzie, let's start with you.
Sure, thank you. For me, because I work on the rights of women and girls with disabilities, I'm excited about meaningful representation and participation of the disability community. I'm excited about, how media perceives disability and how we can begin to use technology to shift that narrative, particularly how media views women with disabilities. And talking about trends, recently concluded Oscars and the Crip Camp, and how representation within this movie was critical to the disability community. So excited about representation, really. Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks, Lizzie. Me too. I'm super excited about this Crip Camp panel. We've got the experts coming to talk not only about representation and what that meant in the film, but also what it means in the future. And we'll get a behind the scenes look at what it took to make an Oscar-nominated film. So for those of you who just joined us, I know we've got folks rolling in throughout the pre-show. Welcome to the pre-show. We're here with Hector, Lizzie, and Stephen, and we are talking about the Ability Summit, what to expect, and what the community is saying out there. So head over to #AbilitySummit if you want to chime in, because this question really is for everyone. We have, and I checked this morning, over 11,000 attendees at the Ability Summit this year. Remember how I said we had just a handful of us on campus when this all started? We also have 105 countries represented and 3,500 different organizations that are coming together. This tells me that there is more and more appetite. More people are hungry and interested in disability inclusion and accessibility. One of the areas where we continue to learn is event accessibility. The key is for us at Microsoft to bring people with disabilities into every stage of planning and execution of the event. And we've really learned so much. Platform accessibility, ASL interpreters, cart captioning, breaks, you'll see some breaks in there to go refresh, recharge, materials in advance, just to name a few. But something that was really new to me at the beginning of the pandemic was speaker-led visual descriptions. So after I discovered this, I went to the community of blind and low vision folks and they gave me some advice. They said, stick to fact-based descriptions. Keep it brief, no need to go on too long, and include race to avoid unconscious bias. I thought that was a fantastic tip, so thanks folks who chimed in on that. As we continue to learn we are really hungry for more suggestions. So again, fill us in if there's anything you want to see as it pertains to event accessibility, meeting accessibility. But let's head over to the pre-show team to see what they're thinking. Stephen, what do you expect now for event accessibility or meeting accessibility? And what do you want to see more of in the future?
Well, I think we're seeing it already, and I think the pandemic has brought a lot of that about, hasn't it? It's brought about a conversation, it's zoomed us forward considerably into an area where we can talk about the idea of more accessible platforms, more accessible events by using the latest technology. You know, for disabled people, especially blind people like myself, the idea of going to major events is quite worrying. It's quite a frightening experience because you've got to think about the travel, you've got to think about where you're going to be, you've got to think about the event itself. If there are lots of breakout rooms or breakout sessions, how do you get there? If I can do all that via a keyboard or via a combination of a mouse and keyboard and use my assistive software in the comfort of my own home in this case, that makes my life a lot easier. But of course, those tools have to be accessible. Now, of course, Microsoft Teams is where we are at the moment, and it is fully accessible, and it's a brilliant platform, and it's able to bring people all around the world together. And that's important, but we have to see that continue outside of Microsoft, and that is why this summit is so important.
Thanks, Stephen. And what do you want to see more of? What do you think accessibility for events and meetings looks like in 5 years?
Wow, I mean, I think in terms of events in person, I think we can learn a lot still. I think there's a lot more we can learn in regards to accessibility in buildings, and I think that actually that's one area we will see technology advance upon, ideas of being able to move around a space and use technology like Microsoft's Seeing AI or Microsoft's Soundscape app. I'm picking on Microsoft products, but then they are the products that are doing the job and doing them really well. And, eventually using head-worn headsets, perhaps, that might actually enable us to move around a space, get a better understanding of physical location, where things are indoors. We all know that outdoor GPS is very good. Indoor GPS, well, doesn't really exist at the moment. Or if it does, it's all based on AI, artificial intelligence. So that's something that I think could improve. And in terms of platform accessibility, platforms like this will continue to improve, I'm sure, but we need to make sure, I think, as Microsoft and as the wider public out there, we make sure that we build those accessibility tools into whatever's next.
Fantastic. I want to see that too, Stephen. Now, Stephen, you mentioned the built environment. We'll all eventually head back to the office. We'll be in person together one day. Lizzie, how do you think about this transition into physical accessibility? What does the built environment look like? What are your expectations for accessible meetings and events in person?
Well, I think for sure technology, particularly social media, has played a role in ensuring that the disability community is able to raise their standards in terms of their expectations to built environment accessibility. And, we're seeing people sharing their experiences around inaccessible buildings and, public spaces that are not accessible. So for me, I'm hoping for a future that merges technology and physical access, because we know the two can provide an enabling environment for all communities to thrive. I'm hoping for a situation where there's more consultation with actual users of the built environment, particularly wheelchair users. I'm hoping that, there can be a convergence of minds, from architects to designers to the actual community of persons with disabilities to create better spaces that actually respond to the needs of the community and are actually user-friendly.
Feedback from the community, absolutely. I have my water next to me at the table here, and guess what? I have a straw. Feedback from the community. It's important that we have all assistive devices that we need to be successful. Now, Hector, you are a traveler. You have been all over the world, and I know this last year has been hard for you being at home. But what trends are you seeing with accessible events right now?
Yeah, so what I love about this is that people are getting braver on delivering accessible events. Everybody's gone digital. Yeah, so they're really thinking carefully about making sure their events are accessible as possible. And I think what we're hopeful for and what we're seeing is those experiences of getting brave on accessibility for some of those formal customer or industry events is then leading to people being much more confident about making the asks inside the workplace. So yes, a big event needs to be accessible, but then so does every informal meeting, yeah? And some of those behaviors, those inclusive behaviors that marketers, event organizers, people managers learn through the event space are then starting to kind of, go into the workplace and become almost like normal to see, right? It's like we expect there to be some accommodation in some of those meetings as much as we would expect some of those accommodations to be in events. So I think, yeah, I agree. I've done a lot less traveling, but we've definitely done a lot of learning this year. And what I love most and what I'm looking forward to most in the Ability Summit this year is to hear from technologists, but then equally hear from marketers, from brand experts, to start thinking about how the representation that Lizzie's talking about is starting to kind of, I think just everybody's getting more confident, and some of the conversations are becoming specifically industry focused. I think that's what you're going to start to hear this year. Some real credible industry voice on disability inclusion and the real lived experiences of lots of different types of businesses through the pandemic.
Lots of diversity within disability, and bring more folks, invite people who are not in this space and need to learn. The more, the merrier. Now we've got about 3 minutes left before the big show, so thank you everyone for joining us at the pre-show. But let me ask our team, our dream team of pre-show. In fact, we need a name, don't we? The pre-show needs a name. We'll think about that. And if you have any suggestions, head over to Twitter, #AbilitySummit, pop it in the chat. We got to name this dream team. But let me ask if anyone has any final remarks as folks head over to the main event. Lizzie, let's start with you. Any words of advice for our audience?
Yeah, I think for me, inclusion, diversity makes good business sense. So it's an important conversation. It enriches our communities as a whole. So this is an important space to be in, and I'm excited for the conversations that we'll be having.
Did you hear that, folks? Listen, learn, amplify. Stephen, advice for our attendees?
Well, I think exactly that. I echo everything that Lizzie says, but I would also say that personally, I think the fact that Microsoft's CEO is going to be speaking at this event is a major part of this. And this is something which I think is really important because, the one thing about Satya Nadella is he's not just doing it because he feels he has to do it. He's doing it because he genuinely believes in this. He has his own lived experience of disability. He's bringing that to the Ability Summit. And people need to listen to that because we need that represented across all industry. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Fantastic. Leadership up the top. Absolutely. And Hector, last words of advice.
Stay inquisitive. There's lots of expertise in this event, not just in the speakers, but also in the audience. So really use the interactivity of the platform to kind of get what you need from the next 2 days.
Thank you. Fantastic. So if you do have questions, we have a lot of experts who can help. I would love to see you all use the chat feature to engage with other attendees, ask questions of our breakout session speakers. That's what it's here for. The Twitter is there for you if you have any questions. Make sure you're posting your pictures. I am very excited to see people in their own environments participating in Ability Summit. Be sure to add alt text. And if you don't know what alt text is, pop it into the chat. Folks can help. Captioning for any videos that you share. We want to make sure this social media is super accessible to everyone who's participating. So let me say thank you so much to our pre-show team. Name pending. We don't have a name yet, but we'll get one. Thank you, Lizzie and Stephen and Hector, for kicking the day off with our attendees. And thank you to everyone who joined us early. We hope you had a chance to grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab that water bottle, because the big show is about to begin. So our pre-show team will be back again tomorrow morning to reflect back on what we experienced today. We'll get a little sneak peek about tomorrow, so be sure to join us at 8:40 tomorrow Pacific time for day 2. But now it is time for me to welcome the main event. Let's get this party started. I would love to pass it over to the team because this is it. Here's the Ability Summit. Let me say a big welcome. Hi. Hi everyone and welcome back. Good afternoon. I hope you guys had a great breakout session. You are back here with the post show and it's great to have you all. I'm Jessica Rafuse. I'm a white woman with blonde hair. I'm here at the studios wearing a Ninja Cat shirt. So Ninja Cat shirt is a beloved cat who's wearing a red bandana, and this Ninja Cat is riding a dinosaur carrying a cane. Pretty cool. Behind me, I've got an Xbox adaptive controller, my Starbucks signing mug, and an award for the Xbox team. So welcome back. Again, I hope you had a great session. We're going to have a great conversation today. But before we bring back our panelists, I want to let you know what you can't see right now, what's going on behind the scenes. So I'm looking at a very small crew, just a few people who are in the room with me. All of them are wearing masks. Around the building, we have lots of hand sanitizer. We're all social distancing. We have individually packed snacks and lunches. And I just want to thank this team so much for really prioritizing our health and wellness and safety during this pandemic. So let's bring back the team. It is my pleasure to welcome back our dream team that we're still working on a name. I've got some suggestions that we're going to look through. So thanks, folks, for sharing. Let's start off with Hector Minto. Hector, welcome back. Do you mind sharing a visual description?
Sure. Hey, Jessica. So I'm a white male in his 40s with a graying white beard and a bald head with dark glasses. I'm sat in my home office at home. Obviously, my home office is at home. You can tell it's day two. And I've got various bits of artwork behind me, including two solved Rubik's Cubes, one of which is a tactile Rubik's Cube. So if anybody's bored one day and wants to talk to me about solving Rubik's Cubes, happy to have that conversation. I'm wearing a t-shirt that says AI for Accessibility on it, which is a program that we run within our accessibility team. Great to be back with you, Jessica.
Wait a minute, Hector. Did you solve those Rubik's Cubes? You didn't provide that detail.
If you want me to do it live in the post show, I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
Challenge accepted. All right, next up, welcome back, Lizzie.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. You can tell it's late in Kenya. I'm very pleased to be here. I am an African woman. I have short black hair. I am brown in complexion. I wear spectacles and a gold septum ring. I have a blue sleeveless blouse and a plain white background.
Well, Lizzie, thank you so much for joining us late in the evening. We apologize for taking you away from dinner, but we're so glad you're here. And Stephen, welcome back.
Thank you, Jessica. It's lovely to be back with you. So I am a white Scottish male, and I am sitting here in my home office. I'm wearing a grey t-shirt, and I should also say I did mention the last time on the pre-show that I had brown hair. My wife confirmed that actually it is more grey than brown. So thank you to my wife for that. And I'm sitting here in my home office, and behind me, I'm in the opposite position I was in last time. So the camera that I use for my TV show, Double Tap TV, is behind me on a desk, perched there. So yeah, that's I'm in my little home office upstairs in my house. Like Hector, yeah, of course, where else would it be?
Shooting from home at home, your home office at home.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your wife. My husband also reminded me that I didn't tell folks that I'm seated in a wheelchair. So you can see a little sliver of my headrest behind me. I have a power chair. But I think this is really interesting, where typically when I meet someone in person, I have a visible disability. So there's no introduction needed. But now that we're behind the camera, surprise, I'm a wheelchair user. Proud of it. Well, folks, thank you for coming back. I know we've got people just rolling in from the breakout sessions, so thanks for spending the last portion of your day with us. This group really wants to come over and come together and talk about what we've learned. what we saw, what we heard, what we wanted to experience, and then most importantly, how are we going to move it forward? So let's go ahead and get started and reflect back on all the content. Yesterday, the breakout sessions, today, the keynotes. And Hector, why don't we start with you? What stood out to you in our content so far?
I think compared to last year, what I loved was the real global voice that came shining through. I loved the session with Anant earlier from India, and I also loved listening to Pratima in the ERG session from India as well. Partly because when country leaders at Microsoft step up to talk about accessibility and say, "Hey, this is on my agenda," it really helps to drive that buy-in and that, in that particular area. I don't know if you remember last year, Cindy Rose from the UK. Who's now moved to Western Europe at Microsoft, she kind of came on with as a guest and sort of really spoke about her commitment to this agenda as a leader. And honestly, we drove loads of great progress off the back of that. So I think if I listen to Carla Qualtrough in Canada, Anant in India, I think that global ERG session, it really felt like we were starting to make some really great global progress.
Fantastic. Lizzie, how does that resonate with you? Did you feel a global presence this year? Do you think that it will make an impact at all where you're at in the world?
I think it's useful that more and more participants from different countries are joining this conversation, but it's also extremely important that leadership is taking and prioritizing this conversation, because really, from my experience, when the leadership is not on board the disability agenda, it makes it that much harder to push these conversations forward. So it's really key and really exciting to see that these conversations are being prioritized at top management level, and that slowly but surely there's confidence that it will cascade throughout business structures, and that it will truly bring about more people being aware of the need for accessibility, and that it ceases to be a disability conversation, and that it just makes good business sense all around.
We need leaders talking to leaders about accessibility and allyship there. So yes, people with disabilities engaged in the conversation, but also people without disabilities, making sure that they're showing up as allies at every level. And Stephen, what stood out for you in the last couple of days for content?
I think it's that togetherness. And it's the fact, and we go right back to the beginning with Jenny wearing that T-shirt, "Nothing about us without us." That is the key message that we need to drive through these events and through the conversations and the networking that follows. It is so refreshing to be sitting here, talking on an event like this, able to talk as a disabled person about my disability, about my challenges, without having to think how I have to change that story or adjust that story. Just be who I am, tell the truth of my story, hear other people talk about their stories. My head was going to fall off at one point with the amount of nodding I was doing along with so many people. Yesterday, for example, when I heard the fantastic Lamondre Pugh talking about his experience of being told, "I don't see you as a disabled person." Lamondre wondered about how that would work out if he'd said that to a woman, for example, or anyone else. That really resonated with me. And it opens up conversations. And this is the key point. It opens up the conversations, especially around technology, how we can have conversations now about how technology can enable us as disabled people in the workplace. And I think this is such a positive event for that reason. I could go on and on.
Please do. We
could.
want you to keep talking. Probably, yeah. That's what we're here for. I think it's really relevant that right now you're bringing up covering, because that is something that for me was really powerful to hear Kathleen talk about her experience with covering, and recognizing that, yeah, we get it. Covering is sometimes essential to do, but there is real strength in the community of people with disabilities. What topics do you think haven't been brought up? What are the topics that are happening in the community that we'll look back on and think, oh, we should have been talking about this or that? Hector?
I think we started to talk about specific industry conversations, right? So we had a session with some business leaders from kind of railway, from auditing, accounting, from Coca-Cola. The conversation I think with accessibility is going to start to move to what's the banking offer, what's the healthcare offer, what's the education offer. I mean, I think we had some great education conversations today, but what I'm looking forward to is leaders from industries, particular industries, who are again designing in structural exclusion in their industries, because they haven't got enough attention on this, starting to come to the table and say, it's not just up to the technology providers to build tools that will kind of get us through accessibility, but we're going to actually start designing structural accessibility into healthcare, into banking, into education, etc. And I think we need to be braver to bring some of those industry leaders to have this conversation. I think that's what I'm looking forward to most.
Call to action. Did you hear that? Leaders out there across industry, build accessibility. Yeah. Call up Hector. Lizzie,
and actually to have, sorry, Jessica, sorry to come back in, but also to kind of give a industry flavor to accessibility. They know what accessibility could look like in those industries, and I think if I reflect on this event, the gaming industry, you can really feel that they're moving further than just the kind of the functional accessibility. They're really starting to get excited about representation and inclusive design and early design and almost kind of owning the topic of disability inclusion. But it's weird to me that it's kind of gaming have really made amazing strides, but let's say healthcare hasn't in the same way and in a digital perspective. So I think that's the challenge.
I would definitely second that. And I think it's about the maturity of the conversation, isn't it? The conversation has matured now, whereas before we would maybe be talking about how we can make things accessible, and this would be a good idea. Let's maybe suggest some ways you could do that. Now we're talking about not just how we can change these operations and actually make these services in healthcare or whatever more accessible, but actually give us an opportunity here to get into this conversation and see meaningful change. And I see Microsoft leading what I now call meaningful accessibility, getting out there, talking to people, engaging and showing how products, or even the products that Microsoft make or even don't make, can be accessible.
I think we still have a lot to learn. So thank you, Stephen. We do work hard at this, but I think there are a lot that we can learn across industries. And I'm really excited to bring more folks along with the journey. So we talked about what we're not seeing and what we'd like to see more of, but let's look even further back into time. The Ability Summit has been around for 11 years now. So what was the conversation in disability inclusion and accessibility in 2010? How is it different now? And in some ways, how is it the same? Lizzie?
Yeah, so 2010, I think I would go back to our legal frameworks that have really catapulted conversations around disability inclusion. I don't believe in 2010 we were having conversations about accessible technology. And right now, particularly in the context of a global pandemic, technology has been front and center and has become a critical skill, a critical tool for people's engagement, for survival, really. I know, like in Kenya, women with disabilities have been using technology to create safe spaces to converge and maintain, conversations and maintain, community, a sense of community, in an environment that requires people to social distance and to not, congregate as often as we could. So for me, I think legal frameworks have provided a way into the future, have given us permission to kind of dream of what is possible. And then, of course, when we come together, we've made it happen. And we are seeing with more market research and understanding what the needs of the communities are, the actual needs on the ground, the lived realities, then we're able to adopt platforms to suit those realities. So for me, that has been, most exciting to see.
That's great. Yeah, I know you and I have talked about life before CRPD, and I think it's good to reflect on the progress that we've made, but a lot to do yet to come. Stephen, Hector, how's the conversation different?
I would say from a user perspective, it's interesting because when I started doing my radio shows, we were back in 2007 at that time, and especially around technology. And I remember at the time thinking, how will I fill an hour a week talking about accessible technology that's mainstream? It wasn't there. It wasn't available, or at least there wasn't much of it to talk about. But I genuinely believe that there was a tide and a change coming. And looking to where we are today, we're there with that. Now, of course, there are still challenges. I'm not sitting here pretending there are not. I'm a blind guy in 2021 who still struggles to access websites. There are still apps where I get the dreaded button when I'm on an app swiping through with my phone. That still happens to this day. And those are challenges that we will continue to have, we need to have. But events like these are so important because they start conversations, and that conversation leaks out to people who don't understand, who don't get disability because it's not lived in their life. They don't understand it. I don't think you need to understand disability. I think you just need to understand the willingness and the want to get more customers to take part in your product, buy your product. And I think we shouldn't be ashamed as disabled people to say, hey, we want to buy product too. I want to buy the latest gadget from whatever store it is. And I want it to be accessible to me. I want to know what the latest Dell XPS is like, So please, is that accessible to me? And if it is, great. And of course, with Narrator now, I can turn it on and I have a full screen reader experience ready to go. Or alternatively, I can buy JAWS. I have options.
Yeah, you heard it here, folks. Stephen has money to spend, so make your products accessible. He wants to spend that money. Well,
we're going for a beer. We're going for a beer after this. So you're buying, Steve.
Stephen's buying.
I've got too much technology to buy, Hector. I can't. It's not possible.
Well, what is the call to action? We have 12,000 people here at the Ability Summit, and we want to keep this momentum going. What is our call to action to them so that we can come back next year, 10 years from now, and see some major progress? Lizzie?
Connect with each other.
Connect with each other. Stephen.
No, sorry, I'm just jumping in because it just comes to top of mind. Please connect with each other. Continue the conversations. Don't let this be an event that happens in your calendar like so many of these events are. This is meaningful. This matters to so many people. And for the disabled people in the audience who are watching, they know what I'm talking about. For everyone else, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to do the right thing, not the decent thing or the good thing, but the right thing is to make your products accessible and use the tools provided by Microsoft and others to do it. It's all there.
Fantastic. Call to action? Lizzie?
I'll go next.
Sure.
Maybe if that's okay. I think the call to action is regardless of your qualification, your industry, your profession, you have a role to play in disability inclusion. So whether you're working in marketing, in HR, in D&I, if you're a dev, if you're in sales, if you're in any of these disciplines that exist in the workplace, you can do something to either champion accessibility, digital inclusion, or disability inclusion, and you should feel empowered to make micro commitments first. You don't have to, as we say over here, boil the ocean to be inclusive. You can start just by, Jenny did it brilliantly earlier. She was just like, hey everyone, if you didn't know, you can make your tweets accessible. I mean, you start with a tweet, that's technology. You move to a document or an email, you move to a website or a newsletter, you move to a piece of software. You're all on a journey in terms of your demands of accessibility and disability inclusion. So I just think we should really be humble in our community to meet people where they are and just ask them to get started with those micro commitments.
So many people fear failure in accessibility. And there are so many subject matter experts out there who will help with your journey. So just get started. And Lizzie, do you have a call to action for folks?
Yeah, I think for me, it's important to focus on our common humanity. I know, sometimes there's hesitation working in disability rights and inclusion because, people want to be politically correct. But we are all people, and if we focused on what connects us as people, I think we would realize that therein there are issues that could be addressed by us coming together. So I think it's important to focus on that, but also it's important to have these conversations in the public domain, I think there's a lot of learning that needs to happen. There's a lot of unlearning that needs to happen. And, who has the responsibility to share these learnings? So it's important that we have these conversations, because sometimes people don't know what they don't know. And, unfortunately, because we identify as individuals with disabilities, companies that have expertise in this area, we have a responsibility to share our experiences. So I think for me, it's both. It's important to prioritize disability as part of our humanity, but it's also important that those who have the expertise, who have the lived experience, to also get out there and share what we know.
Amazing.
I hope that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
We're all cheering you on, absolutely. Let this not be a moment in time. Thank you everyone for joining us, our fantastic panel, who I appreciate all that you've taught me in the last 2 days. And I really look forward to continuing this conversation with you all as the Accessibility Avengers. How does that sound? The
That's the one I wanted.
Fantastic Four.
I like it. I like the
like it.
Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Accessibosses.
No.
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 Accessibility Avengers. Is that it?
Yeah.
That's the
the
name.
one.
There's a T-shirt there, right?
Oh, don't get me started on t-shirt design, Hector. You know I'll do it. Well, thank you, all three of you. You've been such a fantastic pleasure to have you at the Ability Summit, and thank you for all the work you do in your communities. And I hope to see you all in person for a hug one day soon. And to everyone, to the audience, all of you who have joined us to the Ability Summit, thank you so much for all that you do within the community. Please don't let this be a moment in time. Please go and share and amplify the voices of people with disabilities. If you missed a portion of the Ability Summit and want to go back and revisit, you can do so on the platform. So right here where you're at as of Friday. So we should have lots of content up on Friday. And next week, you can anticipate all of that content being available publicly as well to keep the conversation going. So this is Jessica Rafuse here in Redmond at Microsoft Studios, and I just want to say thank you, and continue doing the great work that you do. So have a great afternoon, morning, and day, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. I feel like I should salute since we're the Avengers.
The
yeah?
Avengers.
That's true. Yeah, we should
Something.
salute.
See you next year.
See you guys.